Edward Kimball was a young, shy junior high Sunday school teacher with a chaotic class. He desperately wanted to walk in his purpose by sharing the gospel with the students. Unfortunately, he wasn't an effective teacher. The kids ignored him and spent most of the time in class flying paper airplanes. Even the parents of the kids doubted his future prospects in ministry. Edward's pastor challenged him to visit Dwight, one of the kids that stopped coming to Sunday school. Edward went to the shoe store where his student Dwight worked. The problem was that Ed was frightened to go in and felt too shy to speak with Dwight. He spent 20 minutes walking around outside the store attempting to build up the courage to speak to a student. You're probably thinking, Edward needs to step up and do the right thing by speaking with Dwight, right? Why can't he overcome his fear? Are you familiar with the fight or flight response? It was first described by Walter Bradford Cannon. The theory, simply put, states, when you encounter a stressful situation, you will either fight and engage or take flight, disengaging to a more comfortable position. Like Ed, God has called you to fight, to recover what is his. In this case, it was the life of Dwight to follow him. We so often quote Luke chapter 15, the parable of the lost sheep, how we must leave the 99 sheep to recover the lost one. But upon arriving to recover what is lost that belongs to God, like your marriage, your family, and his call on your life, you freeze and take flight, retreating to a more comfortable position, even when you know it's not the right thing to do. Why do you take flight and retreat in areas of your life when God calls you to fight and walk in his purpose? It's because Satan's strategy is to prevent you from recovering what belongs to God. He has made you believe the comfort of retreat is better than the victory God desires for every area of your life. This is why you are losing a battle you don't even know you're fighting. As a man, you're daily engaged in battle. You're fighting for your marriage, your kids, your very life as a godly man. This fight affects everything and everyone around you. Somewhere in your journey of becoming a man, you've given yourself a pass, a participation trophy of self-approval. Because of this, the very things that God has given you authority over have been left unguarded. If you do not take action in this fight that you're losing, your marriage will fail. Your kids will grow up to be what they see in you instead of who you are raising them to be. You will not live up to the potential that God has set for you. The Bible says in Ephesians 6:12, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." There is a battle going on whether we participate or not. Our inaction is not doing us any favors. The enemy will always win a battle we are not engaged in. As Christians, we are commanded to be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Resist him. Be steadfast in faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. 1 Peter 5:8-9. Every man falls short in some areas of life entrusted to us by God to steward. We must take an inventory of what has already happened and take a stand. Your enemy, the devil, is celebrating, thinking he has won the battle against you and your family. Les Brown, a world-famous speaker, shared a story that really puts this into perspective. A man was captured, tortured within an inch of his life, and he was told by his captors that tomorrow he'll be given two options. Behind door 1 would be a firing squad, and door number 2 would be a mystery. The next morning, the man, weary of torture, chose door number 1. He was afraid to experience any more pain and thought it would be easier to end his life quickly. Soon after, a soldier went to the captain and asked him, "What was behind door number 2? The captain said, "No one ever chooses door number 2. Behind door number 2 is freedom." Although the story was extreme, it illustrates the fact that we make our decisions based upon comfort, moving away from pain. The difference between life and death for the prisoner was his choice to not choose freedom. After all, he didn't really believe that he could be free and escape his plight. God is calling you to recover your marriage, your family, and purpose for your life. If we stay and fight like in Ephesians 6:13, we can walk victoriously in God's purpose and defeat the enemy. Remember Ed, the Sunday school teacher that was afraid to share the gospel with the student at the shoe store? Ed walked in that store, he found Dwight, and even though he stumbled over all of his words, he began to tell Dwight what God had done in his life. Ed was so embarrassed that he looked at the floor the entire time he was speaking. When Ed finally looked up, he found the boy weeping. Dwight immediately gave his life over to Christ. Although Dwight only had a 5th grade education, he chose to follow God and later conducted worldwide revivals. He opened 4 schools and may be the reason why many theologians have said that he snatched over 1 million souls from the devil. See, God doesn't need the qualified. He uses the willing and makes them able. We may not all change the world like Dwight L. Moody, but like Ed, we can make the decision to fight instead of taking flight. Are you willing to fight and take action to recover what belongs to God concerning your manhood, your marriage, and your mission? Or will you take flight and shrink to a more comfortable position for your life? Hey, thanks for listening with me today. I want to challenge you to commit to finish out this challenge, because without commitment, nothing changes. And tomorrow will be one of the most important lessons we're going to go over. It's called the silent struggle of Christian men. It's the root problem that we all face as men that prevents us from following God to our fullest potential. And tune in tomorrow for day 2, the silent struggle of Christian men.